What is up, everyone? So I hope you're all doing well. Today I have my lantern, of course, and a lantern tripod holder alongside with a tree tripod holder. So this is all my design, and we're going to go over its features, its function, features you should look out for when purchasing a lantern holder, and determine whether or not it's worth making one or purchasing one, and which one you should consider. So let's get into this review and see what it's all about. So before we get into this review, if you're interested in any of this stuff, leave a comment below. Maybe I'll start producing these things or other things that I make on my channel, if that's of interest. So let's get into this and talk about why this is the most superior lantern holder you can make, or you could even buy from me if I get enough people interested. So let's go over what makes this thing tick. All right, so let's talk about the device itself. All right, we'll talk about the tree stand and then the tripod one. Okay, the features itself, so that way you better understand why I choose one over the other. Okay, so first of all, it's just a plate. Okay, it could be any size plate that you want. It's just a piece of metal. Okay, any width. I'd go not too wide, because if it's a wide plate, remember the tree's curved. Okay, and that's why I got these offsets right here to stand off, or these standoffs I should say. And basically what those are is, once I determine the square that I want it, because you want stability too, so you want this wide enough to create stability. But I drilled a hole in all four corners. Okay, I tapped them, put these bolts through them. These could be any size bolt you want, it doesn't matter. All right, and then what I did was I took a hole saw and I drilled through 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I took a Dremel tool and I flattened these edges nicely, because they're going to be radiused a little bit, so I flattened them out. All right, you could use whatever it is you have. I do recommend the slots to be a little bit narrower, because what I did was to strap this to the tree, I used a strap, a tie down strap, which the hooks go in through here and pull. So I didn't really need it this wide, but I did it this wide because I didn't know what I was going to use to lock it down. Okay, the ones you buy from the store use chain. I don't really like that, because you can't strap this tight enough to the actual tree, so I like to use ratchet straps. The issue with ratchet straps is you'll get pine sap on it and stuff like that. Well, depending on the trees you have near you, you'll get sap. Okay, so this straps to the tree. Then I designed it so I could take an eye bolt, right? This could be any eye bolt you want. I recommend longer than this. This is okay, this works and everything, but I'll tell you why you need to run a longer one. The longer this is, the further away it gets from the tree, and I'll show you why that's going to be a decision that you need to make, and a deciding factor why you would need to extend this further. But I took this, got an eye bolt, I took my Dremel tool, cut that off to leave a gap, so that way I could hook my lantern into it. Okay, then I attached the nut to it at the proper distance. I tap this end right here. Okay, and then what that does is allow me to turn this like this all the way in there, and it keeps it perfectly aligned vertically, so that way it doesn't do this. Okay, so I designed this so that way I could crank down on this part, cinch it, and it locks it into place. I do recommend adding a nut on the back. That's why I left a little bit of threads on the back side, so you can put a nut to lock it in like a jam nut, keeping this from turning sideways and dropping your lantern. The reason why I made this detachable and didn't weld it to it is because I wanted to be able to store this kind of flat. Okay, so I could take it off and keep those together like that, and I could store this in a tighter area. Okay, so if you decide to buy something like this, say from the store, typically what happens is this mounts directly to a tree, so it locks into the tree here, and they usually have a big chain around it that you could clip, and then gravity of this will drop down and cam the chain kind of sideways. That's fine and all. The whole setup's okay. What I did was I created these cutouts, right? And then I had a strap that would hook here all the way around the tree and ratchet, okay? So this baby would be ratcheted to the tree really tight, but it would ratchet down and lock into the tree pretty good. But the issue is the distance here, okay? So the boom. So what happens is you take your lantern, set it on, right? It drops down, that's all fine and dandy. But mind you, the tree is right here, right? If you have any dry, like pine needles or whatever on the tree, or even potentially cobwebs and stuff like that, that could potentially be a fire hazard, okay? So the tree would be about right here, right? This is radiating a lot of heat out. And especially if you have the old kerosene ones where you're pumping them and you get all that fluid and stuff kind of bulging out around the pump. I mean, that could ignite a tree. It's a possibility. People have been using these for a lot of years. So, I mean, it's kind of a hit and miss, right? It's just something, precautions you might want to take when deciding on your camping gear. But people have been using them forever, and there's not been too many issues because or else they wouldn't be selling them, right? But if you could get this boom out further, that'd be great. The issue with this setup though, besides the fire hazard, is the fact that when your lantern produces light output, it's producing light output this way, okay? All the light output produced this way is going directly into the tree. So you get a big old shadow. And in my opinion, that could be an issue, which leads me into the freestanding tripod. Okay, so before we talk about the actual cup that goes on top, let's talk about the tripod I chose and why, okay? So first of all, this is the newer S251 tripod. You can see the branding there. I don't recommend just buying the newer one just because I have it. This is actually a generic tripod. I found another brand, which I did purchase 2 of these, but I did find another brand like this. But the reason why I bought the other brand is I bought that one first, and then one of them got lost because I bought 2 of them. One of them got lost in the mail. They refunded me. They didn't have another one, and I ended up finding this on Amazon at the same price. So don't take the brand and be like, oh, I got to get newer because they're a good company. The other one's the same exact thing, okay? All right, so when deciding your tripod, you want to make sure your feet are nice and plush. As far as the plushness, it's because you want to have stability. And if you look at the way this one's designed, the feet are facing this direction, okay? And the reason for that is it allows it to kind of rock if it is bumped. If it's this way, it would just tip over, okay? And the reason why this is a good feature is because it can rock and then come back down and balance itself out, okay? So it's a little bit more added support. Another thing is, the reason why I purchased this tripod here is because it's aluminum. It's super lightweight. I know I always talk about carbon fiber and how carbon fiber is great. The reason why I didn't get a carbon fiber tripod is because I was limited on height, and anything that was large like this was super. So another thing you want to look for in a good tripod is the adjustments. The finer the adjustments, the better, because that'll let you have the ability to fine-tune the legs on unstable ground. So if it's unlevel, you could compensate by adjusting it outward to make a tripod go from like this to like this, okay? So keep that in mind. Another cool feature about a tripod is you have this hook, okay? So the hook allows you to put a counterweight on it. Okay, so this hook here, right? The way I utilize it is with the ball like this. So this is, I believe, a 5 or 6 pound ball, super heavy. I have it on a drop setup here. So one cool thing about having the weight offset like this as close to the floor as possible is if you bumped into it, as you can see, it brings itself back around, all right? And what it does is it recenters itself, so it allows it to sway and recenter itself. In the future, I may get rid of this actual hook here and just do like an I-beam, or not an I-beam, but like an I-hook, okay? And so that way it keeps it centered all the time, and then this could sway back and forth to compensate for the sway of wherever the tripod got bumped, right? And it also acts as a counterweight, so it holds it to the floor a lot better. So as you can see, if I did that, it could bump over, especially if it has the lantern on, it's top heavy, okay? But once I push this in here, or put this in here, right, it's a lot more stout. You could also, if you didn't want to have a counterweight like that offset, you could hook it somewhat like that. The issue with this is it brings it up too high and it doesn't allow it to have its movement. It does work, but as you can see, it could overcompensate and shift it all the way over. At least with the rope, it allows it to have a pendulum effect, which kind of holds it center. Okay, another deciding factor in the tripod you choose is its ability to keep straight. So as you can see, this buckle's facing you. I cannot twist it. Even when I loosen up the lever here, I cannot twist it, okay? And that's because if you look close, you have a rib that goes all the way up, okay? And then a rib on the back side that goes all the way up. I like that because it keeps everything going perpendicular to the floor. It's not a must-have, but it definitely makes this tripod a lot better, okay? Also at the very top, since you're gonna have a lot of weight here, and this is probably what you're gonna adjust the most for height, it does have a little O-ring here, okay? I don't think all tripods are gonna have that, but what this allows you to do is if you did drop it on accident, it kind of takes the blow. Cool little feature. I do like these locks over the twist locks in this application because it makes it way faster to open and close the adjustments, okay? You have your head right here, which allows you to put a lighting system up. That's cool if you have outdoor lights that are battery operated or whatever, that are portable for your studio, because now this tripod is versatile to use in your studio as well as take it camping with you, or even shoot at night if that's a thing that you like, because now it's portable, right? 1/4-20 thread on the top, which is very nice. They have other tripods have like 3/8 adapters, which is totally fine. You could get a 3/8 adapter, put it on here. I do not recommend the 3/8 only tripod because most of your cameras are 1/4-20. Okay, so the nice thing about the 1/4-20 setup is, of course, you could use it in your studio still. It's a universal tripod at this point, and you could use it on the campsite, okay? So if you forget your tripod or you don't want to bring one, you have one because you have your lantern set up as well, okay? Even if you didn't want to run this as a lantern, if you did have those portable lights, you could light up your whole area with portable lighting for your camping trip. So utilize the kits that you have, or when designing your kit for your studio or whatever, think of the portability effect that you could have, or the applications that it could apply to, not only in your studio, but in a camping trip or whatever you decide to use this stuff for, okay? So keep that all in mind. That's the tripod. So the head itself is fully 3D printed. As you can see, this is the setup I have here. There's no purpose of the angle here. Basically, I made it so that way it would fit perfect with this top here. So when you put it on, it looks like it just tapers outward and it's a part of the tripod, right? The cool thing about this head here is it has these big ports here, all right, which are very hard to print on a lot of printers, only because there's a radius that I included here. So if it was flat, it would be okay. But since there's a radius, it has to build support all the way around this thing, which is time consuming, but it does give you a better looking piece, okay? But this allows for water to drip out, right? So if water collects, because it looks like a cup, if it collects on the side, it'll drip down and then drip out. So you'll never have water in this thing and it will not dump on you, okay? Also in the center here, I have some epoxy in there, basically glue, and it has magnets in there. So that is a big magnet, all right? So you need a super high powered magnet in order to keep your lantern secure. If you remember in my past video when I talked about lantern holders and the one I made, I had a plunger that went through here and a magnet in the center. The issue with the plunger is you got to pull it out all the time, because when this goes in, I had to pull it out from the side and then slide this in, and then the magnet held it. But the issue with that was it's cumbersome, you know, and that piece was like pretty expensive because it was stainless, and the magnets that I had weren't strong enough to hold a propane tank full of propane and then have this top heavy, right? So I had to make the cup bigger and the magnets stronger, all right? The most expensive part on this cup build is the magnets themselves, because these are neodymium magnets and they're pretty darn big. This is like 1 inch by 1 inch, a 1 inch by 1 inch magnet or something close to that. It's probably metric or something. I can't quite remember, but it's super strong. And when it goes in, as you can see, it's a precise fit. So really snug fit with the base on. So I decided to design it with this base because I don't like pulling these off. But it works with or without the base, so that's cool. Okay, so as you can see, it's a snug fit. It pushes in and then it clips. This thing is not falling out, or at least I hope it don't, but it's not. Mind you, this tank is not full, so don't try this at home if you decide this. But as you can see, I'm pulling on it and it finally pulled out, okay? So with the cap, it still works. If you took this off, it'll have a stronger connection, but super strong magnet. That's what the base looks like once it's put together. On the internal side of this, so underneath those magnets, I have a metal insert that's threaded, that's all stainless. And the reason for that is because you don't want this to rust, because if it rusts, whatever it connects to may seize. So if you had a steel top tripod, so if for whatever reason this was steel, it would definitely rust, latch onto it, and you wouldn't get it off, or it'd be a pain in the butt. If this was stainless and this was stainless, you could basically screw up the threads if you don't put like anti-seize on it. So keep that in mind. There's a counter bore in the center which compensates for this distance here, because like I said, I wanted to utilize that lip right there, okay? And what it does is you set it on like that. As you can see, there's a gap. You twist it, smooth as butter. Twist it, it tightens. It like really tightens. So when you twist it, it kind of like locks itself in there nice and snug, and there ain't no coming off. As you can see, everything fits nice and snug and perfect. Now I could take this, put the tripod like that on, open it up, okay? So super way up there, super cool. The stability of this with the legs at its smallest distance like this is not that great, so you want to go at least 1 notch out for sure, okay? And as you can see, it's pretty stable like that. So it's pretty stable as is, and then with the ball, it's even more stable. So you may be wondering why I made this and I didn't purchase the Coleman setup, right? So the Coleman has an L-shaped bracket that goes up, folds out, and extends out, just like that bracket back there did, okay? And it holds your lantern. Well, as you can see, the issue with that is as tall as the Coleman may be, even if it's 7 feet, you still have this drop that drops your lantern low, okay? And it's offset. So if it's offset like so, right, it has more potential of tipping over, okay? That's an issue in my book. Also, the fact of the matter is, your light, just like the tree, the light's going to output into the tripod, creating a shadow behind it, okay? And that shadow is going to radiate outward because as this projects the light into this post, it's going to create a larger shadow behind you, okay? This gets rid of all that by setting it on top, okay? So that's a far superior design in my opinion. Your opinions are yours, but in my opinion, this is a way better design. And it comes in at a cost, right? So I think the Coleman setup's like $50. The tree stand ones are like $25 if you buy them on Amazon. So you get what you pay for, like the old saying goes. So we've seen both sides of the spectrum. The tree stand, lantern holder, and then your tripod holder. Which one's better? I do recommend the tripod setup because of its portability and its flexibility, as far as it being a, you know, your lantern holder, but it's also a camera stand, especially if you're into the vlogging stuff and doing that type of shooting. Everyone has a tripod, or you should. And then basically you just attach something like this to it. If you don't have none of this, or you don't have the ability to 3D print and make your own stuff, do I recommend the tree stand setup that you can readily buy on Amazon that's similar to this with the chain setup? Or do I recommend the tripod with the Coleman setup? I recommend the Coleman setup, not because it's flexibility, but because the fact is that it's movable. You can move it everywhere. This thing is stuck to a tree and you have to have a tree to use it. If not, you're dead in the water. If you use the lantern by itself, you're dead in the water unless you have a table to set the lantern on. You never want to hang this from a tree branch because it could potentially slide off and catch a fire and burn your forest down, and that's a no-go, okay? So this is the least favorite. So that's going to complete today's video on the portable tripod for your lantern versus the tree stand holder for your lantern. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see content like this and other content I'll be posting in the near future, consider subscribing. Until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Thank you for watching.